All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to put 30 seconds on the clock. We're going to get this party started. You can keep eating, you can enjoy yourselves. This is like being at home. So I want you to not feel like you got to stop eating because we got a meeting going on. I want you to enjoy yourself. I want you to be a part of this incredible experience. And I want you to be relaxed and know that whatever you do, it's okay with us, right? We're going to enjoy it all. So 30 seconds should have passed with that conversation. I'm going to ask some of you to stop eating for a quick second and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Lynette, would you please take a roll?
Thank you, Chair Jennings. I'll go ahead and start with roll of our SACOG board members. Director Lauren absent, Early absent, Chapman absent, Clark Kretz here, Vice Chair. Thank you. Vega absent, Howdeshelt absent, McCulley here, Bradford
Here.
Houlihan and Chair Jennings.
Here.
And then for our external members, welcome. Thank you for being here. Woody Deloria absent, William Walker.
Here.
Raul Martinez.
Here.
Tede Flores Onofre, absent. Kim Williams, absent. Rachel Rios, absent. Amy Pooley, absent. Sam Bunton. Marnie Sanders, absent. And Desiree Orozco. Here. Thank you.
Here. Okay, since we don't have a quorum and there is no action to be taken, we're in good shape. Okay, so we can still continue to move forward with our agenda. Okay, so I want to welcome everybody. I'm really glad that you're a part of what we're doing in this work right here. This is exciting work, and I'm happy that you're here. And I'm gonna ask James to join me in talking a little bit about the current situation in the country as it relates to race, equity, and inclusion. And just kind of hopefully maybe put you at ease if you're in fact not at ease. There's Kim Williams coming through the door. Good to see you, Kim. And I'll tell all of you a story much later about Kim being the first employee that I ever hired, that she didn't get the job she wanted, but she got a job. And our friendship has lasted over the years. So she'll tell you more about that than I will. Exactly. But anyway, the current situation that we find ourselves in. So I'll bring our General Manager, James Corliss, to speak to this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Jennings. And I just want to say, welcome to the REI Working Group. I'm sure you'll hear a lot today about the importance of this working group over the last 4 years to really shape SACOG programs and policies, and that's why you're here. And we've learned a lot in the last 4 years. We've learned a lot with a lot of your involvement and those that came before you on this working group. I was just in Washington, D.C. last week. I went back for the National Association of the Metropolitan Planning Organizations like ours, our peer agencies, and it was important to be back in D.C. I would encourage all of us to get back there and meet with members of Congress and the delegations and the agencies and everything else. It is obviously seemingly an incredibly difficult time to be doing this work right now. And I think we maybe foresaw some of these challenges coming, but it is here, it is upon us, and I try to remind myself every day, we cannot control everything, but we can plan, and we can coordinate, and we can understand, and we can be strategic, and we can move really important work forward. So we just wanted to really recognize upfront that this is a very difficult time and a very difficult climate to be doing work around racial disparities, racial equity, and everything else that matters. That said, part of our job as staff is to really try to see these challenges and make sure that we understand executive orders, we understand court cases, we understand where all of this is heading. And I will tell you today, where we see our work and how we're doing this work, there's nothing that we're doing here that crosses any line with any statute, any executive order, or any court case. And you're going to hear a lot as you dig in today, but also in the months ahead. Part of the reason that you and your predecessors have shaped this work and how you've shaped it is that it is not a one size fits all. It's very much organic in some ways. It's driven very locally. You're going to hear a lot about mobility zones in a little bit from Kathleen Henley. And we look at race, ethnicity, and racial disparities, but we don't stop there either. When we talk about equity, we look at age, we look at accessibility, income. And we believe that there are disparities and transportation challenges all across our region, in all 6 counties, in every community, urban, suburban, and rural. They may look different. And that's a bit of what we've been trying to recognize. And we believe that that kind of, not a one size fits all, but that kind of organic approach to this, that locally driven, community-based driven approach to this, is also the very thing that puts us on a little bit of sure footing at this work. So I just wanted to say this up front. Really appreciate all of your engagement. Tough time to do this, perhaps, though, maybe never more important time for us to really dig in to this work and make sure we advance this in a way that we are making sure, as we say in our statement of commitment and change to racial equity, that race no longer predicts life's outcomes for anybody in this region or anywhere else. So anyway, with that said, over to you, Chair.
So just to add just a little bit to what James has said, I think we listen and we learn. And when we listen, we do learn a lot. And we hope to learn a lot from you and your jurisdictions as to what's going on within your jurisdiction to even get a better understanding of the inequities and the disparities that may exist within your regions, because they're different. They may be different by geographical communities, by a lot. And so we listen and we learn, and that's what we are. We are a learning group. And I want us to continually learn in this environment. And so with that, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to ask the question. Are there any concerns that you have that we should know about right now that we can try to address? If you're comfortable speaking that out loud, I just want to kind of get a better idea of your concerns so that we can try to address them as we move forward. That's our opportunity to listen and learn. Right? Are you? Uh-huh.
Hopefully this is to the point of your question. You know, I was having a conversation this morning at home, and it surrounded, around, and I'll just candidly say it, the virtue signaling that goes on has become increasingly prevalent in our society, and it's surrounded Disneyland, right? We're seeing EVs, Teslas in particular, as signals right now. A few years ago in Florida, it was Disneyland. And I said to my wife, I said, yeah, but I bet they I bet you they still took the family to Disneyland, right? So for me, and I love the word community, because each of our communities is very, very diverse. Mm-hmm. You've got the East Indian population. There's a lot of Afghans in Roseville now. We're communities. We're communities of different abilities, different strengths, and blended families. And so to get away from that kind of polarizing aspect, I know where we're going with this. We want to create more equitable solutions. I love the mobility zones because that really kind of puts it together. And so I know this is set in stone, but if we could talk about community equity, to me, that would achieve the goal of what we're trying to achieve without attracting those who candidly are just filled with fear and hate and are not very bright people.
Appreciate that. No, that was very helpful. Please,
You know, I grew up in PG County.
Prince George's,
PG.
Prince George's.
No, if you grew up there, it's PG, yes. So, you know,
Anyone else want to share anything that they're feeling right now? Yes? No? Raul? Yeah.
Mine's not,
Yeah, there it is.
oh, there we go. Tech challenge there. I don't know, this isn't so much a concern, but maybe sort of, so I work in Placer County Health and Human Services, or we're the health department for not just the unincorporated parts of Placer County, but the cities too. And so one of the things we work towards is building a healthier community together. And so one of the things that we look at to strive to be one of the healthiest counties in California is to look at disparities, right? And we see disparities in health outcomes, certainly by race, but by age, by geography. Sometimes those things overlap too. And so as we look at how we sort of prioritize our services, it's like, yeah, we're the health department for everybody. And we know we've got 80,000 people on Medi-Cal. They tend to live in certain kinds of areas too, right? So, and we see disproportionate rates of people living with Medi-Cal in certainly we could think of Central Roseville, but yeah, relative to populations in some of our rural communities like Forest Hill, right, and in Colfax too, where we have you know, higher share of people on Medi-Cal relative to sort of the overall population. And so to me, this is a moment where it's important to continue to do this kind of work and to address you know, solutions that meet everyone's need and to make sure that everyone gets what they need at the time and place in which they need it. So thank you.
Got it. Anyone else? So I'm a person who believes strongly in the philosophy that he or she who is behind in the great race of life must run faster or forever remain behind. Right? It's one of the ones that I live to, because who helped me to run faster when I was behind as a kid and helped me to get to where I am today. So to me, it's up to me. It's up to me. If it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm gonna take that. I'm the person that I'm looking at in the mirror. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody else. I'm gonna take the responsibility to make things better. And we all know that we want things to be better, but it's hard to kind of do it by yourself. And that's what I like about this team. Together, everyone achieves more. If you don't understand that acronym, that's what we are. We are a team that's working together. And this is the only team that I've worked with that has board members and public members working together in order to achieve what I call a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? And if you want to put an S on that goal, you can put an S on it, because we've probably got some goals that we're going to have to make happen through this kind of a committee. And I'm excited that we have this kind of talent that can come into a room and sit down and develop a plan that we can move forward with. So we've been doing this work for 4 years. You're probably the best team I've ever had working with. That means I'm gonna put some pressure on you to perform at your best. You're not gonna be like the Kings last night, right? You're gonna be like the Kings that played against the Cavaliers, right? That's the kind of team we're gonna be, right? You're not gonna just fall flat when the pressure gets on you. So we're gonna do this work. And the great thing about it is, this is the first meeting of this working group. We're gonna be together for the next 2 years. We're gonna have the opportunity to do a lot of good work together. I'm excited about that. So I'm glad you're on the team. I hope that you make every single meeting and find a role where you can fit in. We're gonna talk about that as we go through the process. I wanna start this meeting by doing something that I did 46 years ago. I got to know a young lady by the name of Cassandra Brinkley. I got to know her. I saw her walk through the cafeteria at the University of Maryland. I watched her when she walked through the door. I watched her when she walked to the food line. I watched her when she got her food. I watched her when she went to the table, right? I've been watching her for 46 years after that. And in that whole process, we got married. We got to know each other first. We became friends and before we became anything else, we became friends and we got to know each other. And so I believe with all my heart and soul, one of the first things we have to do when we form a team and we come in a room together and we're going to be working together, you got to get to know each other. So I got an exercise for you. Okay? You guys ready for this? Okay, cool. So we're going to start getting to know each other, as I said, and we're going to set out community agreements. So we have this activity. We want to get you into groups of 2 or 3. And I'm going to ask Casey to help me with this, make sure that we get you in a group. There should be 1 returning member among you and 1 new member. There should be. And depending on who showed up, we'll see if we can make all that happen. But if you're in a group with 2 new members or 2 experienced, working members, returning members, don't worry about it. It'll still be okay. You're gonna have 15 minutes to introduce yourself. We're gonna bring up our past experiences to our present. We're gonna share, sharing that will help us understand each other and how we're going to work together. And you'll take turns in doing this. So here are the things you wanna get out of this. You might wanna write this down or just kind of, you got, oh, it's already on your
Hey,
sheet.
there's
So
a,
there
there's
you
a
go.
handout, so you
So,
don't have to remember it all. You can
There
just
you
look at
go,
the hand.
perfect. Your name, your organization, the community you represent, 1 or 2 of the following questions. Where'd you grow up? Why did you decide to pursue your career? How did you decide to run for elected office? You see all the questions, right? Got it in front, everybody got this sheet in front of you? Good, okay, all right. And then I want you to share 1 value that you want this working group to honor as we do this work together. And on the sheet, on the board, do we have previous values? Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll get the values. We'll get that, and then we'll put them together. And I just want you to see how, when you come up with your values, how this is going to work to become our values, not just your value, but our values collectively, okay? So share 1 value that you want this group to work to honor as we do our work together. And it's okay if it's the same, different from anybody else's, it doesn't matter. The value will be referenced each time the working group comes together. So after 15 minutes, we'll come back together as a group and you'll briefly share 1 thing you learned about your colleague. That's important. Make sure you do a share with your colleagues. So, you guys good? Everybody understand? I know you're still eating. But that food will be there when you get back. Okay. Else this meeting is gonna go awful long. Okay, Casey, help me with the grouping.
No, so you're just gonna turn, you should have at least 1 returning member and 1 new member near you, so turn into a group of 2 or 3. Like there's 3, there's 2, there's 2, there's 2, there's 3. Oh, perfect, okay. 3 on the ends, 2, 2, 2. You're good.
guys are good.
This
This
group right
William's
here,
a
William's
veteran.
returning, the 3 of you together, yeah. Yeah.
All right, we got 3 here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm going.
And then around 7 minutes, we'll say like, all right, you're halfway through.
Such a common day. Isn't it? It's very, very
On it.
anywhere.
All
we
right.
know Somebody who got the, you know, we were growing up in school, pretty much every class I ran, it was always a Williams. I was never, you know, back in the day, they used to sit you alphabetically too.
Right.
So it was always like the other Williams, I mean, and we actually were the same grades, we were pretty much in the same, we were in the same class with each other.
The whole way through.
Yeah, pretty much from like maybe 4th grade.
Whoa.
We came in around the 4th grade. On, we were pretty much, and then we were at high school, and we were all the time, but we had, so it was like, we always just last, we would just start calling each other, we just started around, like, so by the time we graduated, everybody just figured he was my cousin. Well, and I just went with it.
Yeah. That's exactly
And we're
right.
still really good friends today. So.
Okay. All right, let me get with you guys.
Okay.
All right,
This way.
this is almost not fair.
Yeah.
I already know that person over there.
Yeah.
I'm like, ask the first question for me, where is your
Everybody who needs 5 more minutes, raise your hand. All right, raise your hand, raise your hand. All right, all right, so I think the hands have it. We got 5 more minutes. We need 5 more. We got to finish this up.
No, but we talked about.
There is never enough time at these meetings. There is never enough time at these meetings to do what we just did. But you guys did a great job. I want you to give yourselves a round of applause if you would, please. It's one of the best things that we do is when we stop for a second and get to know each other and share our values and share what people don't know about us. It's one of the best things that we do, right? And because you do it, I feel a part of you, you feel a part of me, right? And so it's something that's really, really important. And I think all of us understand that. But we got to give up one of our most important values. We got to give it up. Sometimes we got to give into it, which is the most important value that we have as a person is our time. And we have to give that time to others in order for us to really be able to do this work together. And so I'm glad we did that. I'm glad you asked for the extra 5 minutes, even though it turned into 10, that's fine. So here's how we're gonna do this. So we're gonna report out. Hopefully you guys have decided who's gonna introduce whom, right? If you didn't, you can kind of draw it out. When we do it, I'm gonna introduce Jan, Jan's gonna introduce Kim, Kim's gonna introduce Rick. So just so you got that out. Here's what I want you to do when you do the introduction. When you do the introduction, right, and you're finished introducing the person, I want you to say, I'm in. And everyone else is gonna say, welcome. Okay? Let's practice this one time. I'm in.
I'm in.
Oh, welcome.
Welcome.
Oh.
Not you're welcome. You don't have to say you're welcome, just welcome.
Off on that.
So I'm in.
Welcome.
Good. You got this.
Let's hear
Right?
it one more.
So this is an important thing to take back with you to your jurisdictions in case you don't do this. When you say I'm in, that means the cell phone is not a priority. Whatever's going on in your head is not a priority. This meeting is your priority. You're committing to what's in front of us right now. I'm in to what's going on right here. And when we say welcome, it means we're welcoming you into this space. Okay? And it's just really making a commitment that before I pick up this phone or before I focus on other things that are coming up after this meeting, I'm focused right here at this place. I'm gonna give everything I have to the work that we're doing right here, right now. So that's the commitment I'm asking from you. Okay? You good with that? Everybody good?
I'm in.
Good. Okay, so what group wants to start?
Well, I think we should.
Let's do it.
All right. Sam, who do you want to profile? I don't know what profile is.
How much time do they have to do this whole thing?
30 seconds.
Yeah, like a 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm going to introduce William Walker. So he works with the Sacramento Employment Training Agency. After growing up in Alabama, ended up in the Army, and after that moving to college. One of the things that I found interesting was that although, and correct me if I'm wrong, William, we were taking notes pretty quickly and had some good conversations, but after going to the Army and going to college, although he was planning on pursuing business, this community service type job organically found him. And so he's been there, I think, for 35 years now, which is absolutely amazing. And I think that started with you applying at Head Start, correct? Is it?
Yeah, I worked with, I volunteered with the Head Start program.
Awesome. Thank you. And so what perspective he brings to the working group, things like lack of equity. And then that's about where we had to stop with three of us. We were moving pretty quick, doing our best. How far into the introductions would you guys like to stay consistent or go with? About as many. Is that good?
So you got to share the one value
Okay.
that he wants to bring to this working group.
Awesome.
We have a group value.
Yeah,
Oh, that's perfect.
I can
Okay.
share the group value.
Whatever you want.
Thanks, Bruce. And I think we all agreed with it is the one value that we'd like to see moving forward with this REI group is civility.
Let me introduce Sam. Here in Yuba County, focusing, and I didn't know there was a Westland, Gary Bradford, I apologize for that, and Olive Hurst. right? The highway bifurcates it. He grew up in Vacaville. His dad was the CIO for Vacaville. His grandpa was a professor at Cal Poly. He wanted to be a professional dirt biker, but you know, and then he went to Butte College after Aaron Rodgers went to Butte College and Chico State. And like William, his career path was organic. Why he is participating in this is because SACOG is a great partner and he wanted to give back. And what's your greatest fear? I don't know if I captured that.
Oh, greatest fear of being involved in the working group. You have to give me a second, Kill Quebec.
All right. William, do you remember what his greatest fear was? All right. I don't think we asked that question. so.
Director Hadashel,
I think he's,
your group,
I think he's like my Maryland Terrapins. He's fearless. All right?
I think your group you were overachievers. You only have to share one or two answers.
We only have to share one or two. What?
You only have to share one or two answers. You don't have to share all.
Oh,
We just got.
whoa, Sam, your path just got really easy. Sorry, Sam is paying attention. He's going ahead of class. I'm in.
Welcome.
I'll say I'm in as well. I forgot about.
So my first question to Bruce is how do you pronounce your last name?
How?
How do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, how? Shell.
How does show? So Bruce grew up in Washington, DC in the area. He grew up pretty much in the military. His family was in the military for quite a bit. College, based on my understanding, he kind of attended college for like 18 years, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Actually, he actually went to school to be a journalism major. That was his goal. He kind of abandoned that after a while. He's a Roseville City Council person. He's here because of diversity. He believes in diversity, and one of his key things that he really did share with us that he believes in civility. He was the one that brought civility and humanity up as his key indicators for being here. So really got a chance to know Bruce, and certainly I thought it was a very good conversation with both him and Sam. So I'm glad you guys put us together.
Wait, are you in? Are you in?
4 years, I mean.
Well, oh, we got one here. Yeah, we got one here.
Oh, there it goes. See, we weren't quite as detailed as you were. We just had conversations over here. We had conversations. So this is Tere, by the way, it's like Teresa, but it's Tere, right? Got it right? Some of us know how to roll our R's and say Tere and others don't. That's okay. I think from our general conversation, one of the things I thought was interesting is we all kind of fell into the roles that we have. We weren't looking for the types of careers or even, holding office. We all just kind of, they happen sometimes. That was not what we figured. And the word that I had picked was humility, but I don't know what do they want to know about you? I can't remember. It's the Sacrament. She works with a bunch of religious organizations and helps pull them all together to work with bringing in healthcare and education and things like that they need. But I do not remember the name of it. It was Sacramento area congregation. There we go. I kept thinking Catholic because we discussed being Catholic, but I knew it wasn't Catholic. So I know that's what I got for you. Thank you. I'm in.
This is Pamela. She's a city council person at the city of Ileton. Like what Caroline shared, she kind of fell into this position, but has been is a former mayor and now council member. And it sounds like what I heard from Pamela is she decided to, even though she kind of fell into it, but she decided to run because she wanted, the people in the community to have a better option than what they had before. And yeah, one of the things, the value that I heard Pamela shared was humility, as well. She agreed with Caroline. So. Oh, I'm in.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Come introduce Caroline. Like she's with the city of Colfax. She was appointed to that position. And like she has like she runs a farm and she has the tortoise that's about 18 years old. And she also runs a nonprofit. And me and her concurred about humility because no one knows everything. So we tried to find out everything. So that's basically it that I could remember. And I'm in.
Welcome.
So I'll start us off and we probably didn't follow directions, so I'm going to continue that trend right now. But we had an amazing discussion and we were all over the board and really getting to know each other. And so I think all three of us grew up in the Bay Area and we've all had very different life experiences that brought us to this point. All three of us are in our current position because we wanted to give back and serve our communities and make a difference. So Desiree Orozco is with SAC EJC, the Environmental Justice Coalition. And she's working on an affordable housing project in Placer County, right? So they extend beyond the border of Sacramento. So we talked about the importance of, people and where they live, and they may live and be impacted, the jurisdictional lines, right, shouldn't be roadblocks. And so she talked about how important it was that we're collaborating across the region to serve folks. And so that was great. And Raul's the Deputy Director of HHS and in Placer County. And I don't know if we talked specifically about that, but that now I know I'll ask him what he thinks of his council member later, but just kidding. So we didn't necessarily go through all the items in number 2 or even specifically address those, but we did talk about them, and I'll let my fellow work group members maybe talk more about that. We did write down a list of kind of values that we came up with together, so we didn't narrow it down to one. So we talked about the importance of having moments of levity in this kind of heavy topic sometimes, honesty and being authentic, and talked about the importance of shared values, especially right now with the political climate around this topic, is that the words we use and how we focus on describing the challenges related to equity, we just need to express it in a way that people can relate to, no matter where they're coming from and no matter where they're at, because there's a lot of shared agreement, and we have to look for that and find that, and then we can work together. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over.
Thank you. Gary actually did a really great job in summarizing that. This is Gary Bradford, and he is the county supervisor with Yuba County. And an interesting fact that I learned about him is that he ran unopposed. So that was interesting. And when he sorry. One of the shared values we talked about in addition was to be authentic and honest, and give a space so where we can share our life experiences for some of us that have that, so that way we could bring some of those discussions to the table. And I think that was it. I'm in.
Oh,
Thank you.
welcome. I'm in too.
So maybe just briefly on Desiree. So a community organizer, right? Just a couple more tidbits. Maybe this is because we're secretly trying to recruit her, but so she's got her master's in public health, but you've got important work to do here. But yeah, but I think that just so we're coloring outside the line. So sorry, Bruce, but I think we all have also experience with important parts of the safety net, right? Like that helped us, right, on our that sort of helped stabilize us and sort of and our families, and it was an important part of our lives, even if for some of us it didn't last too long, but it lasted enough for us to make a positive impact. So that was good. I think one other thing was I just wanted to highlight sort of the work that you're doing just around Again, affordable housing, but maybe as we all have sort of different experiences on groups like this. And so Desiree, this is your first experience, right? It sounds like on and so welcome. And so if there's anything that we can do to help you, or if you see like, what are you guys doing? So if you have suggestions for us to do better, well, welcome that too. But with that, I'm all in. So yeah,
Welcome.
Okay, I think we're the last group. I won't say save the best for last. No, I didn't mean to really say that. No, I want to introduce to some and present. I want to introduce to, that was my, my walk of music, by the way. Yeah. Introduce to some and present to others the vice mayor in the town of Loomis and the city council member, Jan Clark Kretz. Give her a round of applause, please. She's a country girl who grew up in the town of Loomis. And in the town of Loomis, she actually in 2013 did something that many of us probably wanted to do. She went back and bought the house that she grew up in, and they named it FRP, her final resting place, right? So I can say she grew up in Loomis. Her family, her mother and father, moved to Loomis, and her father's vision was to build a golf course, all right? And he was able to build a golf course that she still runs to this day in addition to her duties on the city council. They finished the golf course about in 1967. And as a child, they moved a lot, and that's why she had to come back and buy that house. I won't tell you how many places, but her value that she really wants to speak to is the value of commitment. You know, commitment. So with that, I'm proud to present Jan Clark Kretz.
You're in.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm in.
Welcome. My turn next.
Yes.
Okay. It's an honor for me to be able to introduce Kim Williams. First of all, my middle name is Williams, and so we have that in common. It's great to be sitting between these two because they're great friends. And Kim grew up in West Sacramento, and she was able to get, I believe, her very first job with some help from Chair Jennings. Is that correct? And then you worked with the Boys and Girls Club. Maybe not so. But what she found was working with children was something that really meant a lot to her, and found that the systems were broken, and in order to set them up for success. So she became very, very, very passionate about that work, and continues that on today in her work as the executive director for the Sacramento Building Healthy Communities. She has just been very interesting woman for me to get to know, and I can't wait to work with her even more. Her value that she wants to bring, her value is honesty. Oh, I'm in.
Welcome.
Hello, it is my honor to introduce Mr. Rick Jennings. And it's hard to do stuff when you know stuff, so I'll try not to tell stuff that, you know, might embarrass you, but then maybe not. So we have Councilmember Rick Jennings. He is the husband of Cassandra, father of TJ and Asha, and the grandfather to, is it 6 now? 6 beautiful grandchildren. Rick was born in Houston, but really raised in Washington, D.C. He moved to California early on. He played football and played for a team that Raiders. They won a little Super Bowl. So that's the bling bling you see on his fingers. And he's had several employment opportunities. He worked for Xerox for a while after playing football. And when he came to Sacramento, he was the executive director at St. Hope Academy. After leaving St. Hope Academy, he's now currently the executive director for Center for Fathers and Family. But he is an elected official. He got into politics. And I actually asked this question for the first time, as long as I've known him. I never asked him why he ran. And he ran because his children, when they moved to Sacramento, they chose a neighborhood where the elementary school school was really good and he wanted that for his children. But when they got to middle school, the middle school they had to go to was really, really bad. And it showed the disparities amongst education in Sacramento. And that was an opportunity he felt for himself to have a voice and a say in that, and ran for the school board. And so that's where his life in the politics began, working on the school board. And from that parlayed into running for city council for District 7. I also live in District 7. I lived there before he ran, so I didn't move there because he was the council person. So I had to decide who I was gonna vote for. But it was, a good decision for us. And so he now, his values, which is so important, is really his foundation is family, and it's what family means, how strong family should be, and what family can do together. And so a lot of the work in his foundation is really built on how you continue to build strong families. And I'll stop there.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I won't. Wait. There's one thing. So Rick, I don't know if y'all know, he's a prankster. And so when I interviewed for a position, so he likes to tell you, he gave him, which he did. He did give me my first job, but the position I interviewed for was not the position he gave me. And the reason he gave me now that I know HR law, I really was wrong because he told me I was too young. And so he gave me another position. And I must say, within a year, I had the position I originally applied for in the first place. But he's a big prankster, and he used to prank us all the time. He's the king of the okie doke. And but I think we got him back with Babygate.
Yes.
Where we had him thinking that I was pregnant, which I was not. But it was a long, I'll tell you after. But I will say, I knew it was time to give up the joke when he was like, I prayed for you. And I went, oh yeah, he's praying for me. I'm like, it's a joke. I'm not, and I never had a child. And so, but I remember that was the one time, all of us were like, we got him. He's speechless. He can't say anything. Let's just get out of his office now. So, but it has been a joy to be his friend, and the opportunities that that first opportunity he gave me led to a lot of the work that I do today. So I do appreciate that. So, Mr. Rick Jennings, and I'm in.
Welcome.
Welcome.
How'd you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah, I like that. Okay, ready for the next one? Let's do it. All right, so we have one more thing that we have to do before we dig into working together. We're going to create our community agreements. These are ways that we're going to agree on how we work with each other. And when we're in these meetings, what do we do when we're in these meetings, and what do we do when we're in between these meetings? We put a few of these on the screens. Come prepared to be present and participate. No one knows everything. We all have something to learn and to offer. And so because no one knows everything, no one should try to tell everything in the room, right? Give some space for others in the room to be able to contribute. Accept and expect non-closure. And so those are the examples of things that we've used in the past, right? And they can also be things that we put into our community agreements. And so that said, are there other agreements that we should add? And do you want to modify any of the ones that are actually on the table? And so staff is going to write these down so that we capture these. And I also want you to know that in our time together over the next 2 years, we can add or we can change any of these agreements as long as we all agree to it, right? So they're not something that we're stuck with. We can actually make changes to them. So, yes.
Rotarian.
Former Rotarians, yes.
Bad performing Rotarians. I mean, the Rotarians have 4 weeks, right?
Yes.
Feels like one of those is good for, I forget how it goes.
Which one are you?
Is it good for?
Oh, is it good for is it beneficial to all involved?
Beneficial for all. That feels like it should be an agreement. No, unless it's already happened. Unless you feel like it's already happened.
put it up. Is that exactly how you want to put it? Okay.
Is it free, it's beneficial to all.
Good goodwill and better friendships.
Would you mind using your microphone?
I didn't know I needed.
Microphone. Even here, I need a microphone. Is it beneficial to all? Right. I think that's how it, thank you. Thank you Supervisor Bradford.
Other community agreement, yes.
I would say speak from what you know, not what you assume.
Hmm.
Goes right along with that humility part of don't speak for others unless you know for a fact.
Okay.
We can talk about the fourth bullet down. I'm not sure I understand exactly what that means.
Which one?
Accept and expect non-closure.
Chair Jennings, I can speak to that because that was one of the examples from last time. So that means that you may have a meeting and there's topics that come up and you don't find that there's closure to it. That you know, it just kind of stays open and it could stay open for a while. And so accept that that'll happen and expect that it'll happen. And you are welcome to change that as well if it resonates and you want to tweak the language or if it doesn't resonate at all.
So don't argue to the point that it affects the meeting and the attitude of others that are in the meeting. You know, just expect that there's a non-closure and we will get to closure at some point in time, but maybe not at that time. Okay? Others? Other community agreements? Yes.
Just a thought, thinking out loud, and this, the accept and expect non-closure reminded me of this, but maybe like continuous improvements, like even if you don't have closure at that one time, you're always continuously trying to improve on something. And even if you can't have a major impact in a community or something like that, always at least doing something to, whether it be big or small.
So I think I heard you say that we as a group should work on continuous improvement.
Yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's work towards continually improving.
Yeah.
All right, continuous improvement. Okay. Others?
Right out of my head.
Looking. You got one?
I did. As soon as I pushed the button, it went right out of my head. It's something around, you know, not always assuming, not assuming ill intent or, because we're talking about, you know, racial equity can be a very uncomfortable subject sometimes. And when we're having conversations about things, not assuming that's, you know, ill intent or from somebody else, but like get full understanding, seek clarification, and not assuming that they mean something that they didn't mean. And I had the words right. I'm sorry. They just went right out of my head.
So maybe add on, or I don't know if this helps, Kim, what you're trying to say, but one way that I always think about this in groups, you know, where we're trying to have conversations that might be difficult is being aware of intent and impact, meaning like the other, the person's intent might not be ill, as Kim was saying, and at the same time, the impact might be, you know, might have some kind of effect on someone else in the room. So it's both, you know, not assuming that someone's saying something with a certain intent, and at the same time for the person speaking, being aware that what you said, maybe that wasn't the intent, but it might have had a different impact depending on perspectives, et cetera.
So I'm gonna give one for, oh, no, good. I'm glad you raised your hand. You knew I was gonna speak for you.
Well, I certainly don't want to add, because I'm not going to be able to remember. I'm going to have to refer to this list. So maybe this is a point to underscore a point around making sure everyone has time and space to contribute. So a few of us are returning members. Some of us we're getting to know each other for the first time, right? And so I think thank you for setting the table, Chair Jennings, around sort of exercises to build trust with one another. And so we'll continue to build trust with each other over the coming meetings. And I've also really appreciated that, brought up the point around, we've got elected officials and non-elected officials in this group. And so, and a pretty good, in the past, like distribution of participation, right? So, and recognizing that some members are newer to this. And so maybe it's our collective responsibility to make sure everyone has time and space. So maybe this group checks in with, checking with Tere to see like, and Tere does the same, right? To make sure that, we're all participating and maybe looking for nonverbal cues to say like, hey, like I'm noticing that maybe we don't have full participation. Not to expect that every single meeting, but maybe for us to watch for each other and ensure that we're all participating. So maybe it's a point of emphasis for bullet 3. Thank you.
Yes. Is active listening captured in those community agreements?
Active listening?
Yeah. Is it captured in those up there? I'm not sure it is. I mean, it's the intent, right?
So my active listening model says you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You are to listen twice as much as you talk. You like that?
I got my bullet point.
Good, perfect. It works. Okay, all right. I think we're good.
I have one more.
One more?
possibly.
Okay.
And it's perception is reality. So even though somebody may be sharing a story and it does not, to you, it's completely off and wrong, but it's their perception based on their life experiences. Perception's reality.
Yeah, there's no question. My daughter told me that I liked my son better than I liked her. And I was thoroughly upset with her. And my wife pulled me to the side and said, if she thinks it, then it's true. She says, what are you going to do to change it? So perception is reality. I totally understand that. I've been working all my life now, 40 something years, to change her mind. I think I got her.
My budding almost 12-year-old swears I hate him. So if you could tell me how to fix that, it would be fantastic.
Okay.
Because the teenage attitude is strong.
So remember, today is not the only day that we can add these. We can bring them throughout our meetings. We can always bring this up and talk about what do we want to add or take away from this. So this is not cement. We can change. Okay, we're good for now. All right, we're going to move then to the next agreement, next opportunity. This is a 15-minute charge. It's to review the charge of the working group. And I'm going to ask Casey Lazan to walk us through this charge. Casey?
Thank you, Chair Jennings. I will take less than 15 minutes on this, but I want to make sure it's clear for everyone too. So I want to give you a brief history on this on the Race Equity Inclusion Initiative to understand where this group comes in this whole history. So our first cohort, 2021 to 2022, that group created a racial equity statement of change and commitment that the SACOG board adopted, and then also out of that created a racial equity action plan that set forth goals and objectives that the board of SACOG also adopted. Then in 2023 and 2024, some of you and Director Clark-Kretz and Director Jennings were on that original one. In 2023 and 2024, and some of you have come back from that, it was really focused on implementing, overseeing, guiding, advising, giving feedback on how SACOG was implementing that racial equity action plan. And then at the end of that 2 years, provided recommendations on it. So they were making connections for staff with goals and what we were doing, and also actually making connections with the rest of the board. So really helping the board like build up an understanding of the work we're doing. It's a constant process, as I think our SACOG board members will be able to attest to. And then what we're looking for from this group, and that really gets to what the charge of this current working group is. That charge was adopted by the SACOG board at the end of 2024. It's to really help embed race equity and inclusion into SACOG's programs and decisions. It was kind of a clear thing that came up after our implementation for the first 2 years. We set up some new practices, some new processes. We started to pilot some things with a few programs. And then it came to, okay, now in 2025 and 26, let's try to start adding this to more things, right? Let's start to try to scale it across programs. So and the 2 ways that this board will do that, this working group will do that. is to, one, help shape the entire SACOG's board engagement and education on race, equity, and inclusion related topics. And then the second part of the charge is to help integrate racial equity and principles of meaningful community engagement into specific SACOG programs. So our goals for you for the end of the 2 years, given that charge, is that you've identified some lessons learned to incorporate into SACOG's projects and programs, our annual work plans, any updates that may be required to our racial equity action plan. Another one is that the board has indeed considered equity frameworks and community engagement principles in key SACOG programs. That's actually an explicit goal in the current racial equity action plan. And then the other goal is that more SACOG programs fully reflect the communities of the Sacramento region and that all communities can benefit from them. Very, very big goals, easy words to say. And so we're looking forward with working with you on this really a learning journey for us. So the way that we are hoping to get there and really how this, all of you as a working group will work together is that when we come together for the 4 full working group meetings in March, June, September, and November, we're going to be presenting to you some opportunities for you to dig in to actually carry out the charge. We're going to explain those to you. Sometimes you'll do the work in that meeting, but oftentimes there'll be some opportunities over the next about 3 months for you to sign up to either join a small ad hoc group of 1 to 3 people working with staff, review some information, and then just provide feedback on your own. Or you might be invited to attend a SACOG board education or kind of learning experience, or participate as a board member in your role on a board committee or in a board meeting. So there's many ways that this happens in between. You come back together at your full working group meeting, you debrief on that, share with each other the impact of that, the lessons learned, and then we sign up for the next few months and do the same. So that's really an iterative learning process. Are there any questions about that or anything I've said actually?
Questions for Casey? You got all of that?
Right.
Kim, I see a question. No? Okay. Good.
Okay, good.
I like that.
Well, in that case, then I am going to move us on to the working group's first assignment. The mobility zones is a major program project actually ongoing right now at SACOG. And this is one of those opportunities for you to work together on this, because the SACOG board is going to be taking an action in May. And so we thought, all right, we want to give you a briefing on this and we'll talk about some opportunities to further engage. I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen Hanley, who is our program manager. Yes.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, what time is it? I'm Kathleen Hanley. I'm part of the transportation team here at SACOG and the project manager for mobility zones, as the operations team here switches the slides over for me. Yeah, as Casey mentioned, so I'm both offering one of the engagement opportunities you all have for this quarter here and doing a deep dive on the community engagement and community partnership side of mobility zones. If you've seen me present on this project before in other venues, as many of the SACOG board members have, I'm thrilled to tell you that today will be a deep dive on a whole other lens of this project, really talking about the engagement and the community partnerships that we have with mobility zones. I will provide some background on project scope, just so everyone understands the kind of what of what mobility zones is, but really today is about the how and what Mobility Zones has done to take a lot of the direction and conversation that came out of this working group and our racial equity action plan, put that into practice and what we've learned, right? We've tried out some of this new approach and what we've learned from it. I'll focus on 2 types of kind of co-creation models that we've been piloting in Mobility Zones, really on bringing community to the decision-making table and on having more effective public outreach, how to target our public outreach a little bit better. And then look ahead to give folks an understanding of when and how Mobility Zones is coming to the SACOG board and what I see are some opportunities for this working group just to support those items coming through the SACOG board. So at a 10,000 foot level, the Mobility Zones project is all about identifying zones, right? Geographic areas, pretty small, 10 of them in the 6-county SACOG region, and prioritizing transportation projects in those places so that we can make travel better for the communities that live in those designated areas in the 6-county region. We're really at an inflection point, which is also why it's a great time for me to come before this group and kind of reflect on what we've learned so far, where we're transitioning from identifying those 10 places to actually focusing on projects. So up until this point, it's been a lot of analysis, a lot of demographics, a lot of looking at transportation to try to understand which communities in our region really struggle a lot, and then what SACOG could do to help in partnership with different folks. The project has adopted these guiding principles. I don't often include this information in my board presentations, but I think this group would be particularly interested in some of these. I'm not going to read them all, but the two that I've bolded are really what I'm going to talk about a lot today, which is that Mobility Zones is committed to using diverse processes to elevate diverse voices. The process by which you ask for engagement, both from partners and from the public, matters a ton in who you hear from, right? If you do something online, you get a very different type of voice than if you do something in person. And if you do something at a farmer's market, you get a really different type of voice than when you show up at a Rotary Club. And so really trying to facilitate diverse processes so that we can get those diverse voices has been a big part of what we've done in Mobility Zones. And this is like my favorite principle of Mobility Zones, is that we value both quantitative data and like qualitative lived experience equally in the project. So it's both technically very, very rich, using all of SACOG's data expertise, with a big commitment to listening to stories and seeing how we can take stuff that isn't backed by data, but that communities know to be true, and how we can bring that into the project. So two really examples I'm going to walk you through. One is how we've brought community voices to the decision-making table in Mobility Zones, and what are some lessons learned from our experience of doing that. And then talk a bit about how we've leveraged community-based organizations in our region to do more targeted public outreach on the project. Okay, so looking at the first of these two categories. Mobility Zones is guided by a set of committees that have this structure as shown in the graphic. So every quarter, I meet with 7 committees. There are 5 of the community committees. The community committees have community-based organizations, community leaders, neighborhood groups, those kinds of folks. And then municipal is city and county staff, and technical is like regional agencies and transit operators. So really different types of folks. And we get around a table and we talk about the issues and make decisions on how to move forward in the project. So while traditionally SACOG projects are really geared towards the board and towards our internal management at SACOG, this project is really guided by this collaborative structure that brings community voices right into the decision-making. I still go to the SACOG board, of course, but there's a really influential role that community members have in decision-making. And that's come with a lot of pros, but also has some complications. This is the roster list. You don't need to memorize this. It's obviously a small font, but just to show you the kind of like volume of people we're speaking with on a quarterly basis to try to drive the Mobility Zones project forward. One way we've really actioned bringing community members to the table, and kind of a challenge we saw early on, is how to level the information playing field. When I sit down with a public works staff person and I have a conversation about transportation challenges in a particular part of our region, they have a background and a subject matter expertise that allows us to have a really rich conversation about what's going on, because we were using similar language. We have shared background information that we can leverage in that conversation. And when I meet with my community committees, it's not the same thing, right? They're not transportation professionals, but they care about transportation and they have a lot to share, rich information. But we had to figure out in this project a way to level the information playing field so that we could have an effective conversation with the community members at our community committees. And so these two visuals that you see are an example of some of the types of visualizations of transportation information that we've put together in Mobility Zones, specifically so that those community members can digest the same types of information, react to it, and be able to provide really targeted feedback. So it's, leveraging a lot of maps, summarizing a lot of data, organizing things very simply, using colors, right? All of those things that help all of us process information, but it's just, doubly as important if you want community members to be able to engage at the same level that partner agency staff do. Another technique that we've used is building a process for consensus. So this Mobility Zones project is being delivered by Civic Thread, which is a regional nonprofit organization all about transportation, justice, and equity. And they brought to the table this fist to 5 voting. Maybe other folks have used it, but I had never heard of it before. So it's new to me in the transportation space. I think, right, other sectors have a lot to learn from each other. And so this is the tool that we use to make decisions at our community committees. It's exactly what it shows, right? A fist, a 1 or a 2 finger means basically like, I don't feel good about this moving forward. We need to keep having a conversation before I'm comfortable. But a 3, a 4, or a 5 means like at varying levels, I have general agreement and we're good to move forward. What this helps us do is both understand where people are at on a spectrum, gives folks an opportunity to stop the process without having to be so brave if they're not so extroverted, but also you can be a 3. You can say like, I have some reservations, but I'm okay with us moving forward. And so it creates a process for consensus that doesn't mean we all have to absolutely agree, but that we can understand where the group is at. You use this all along the way, and we had a lot of low stakes decisions we were making early on, but as the importance of the decisions scaled up over the project, this became so important. We had twos, and we had to go back and start over and rehab the conversation, and the dialogue between the community members trying to figure out how to get their 2s to a 4, so that we can move forward was really cool and powerful. So I think this is certainly something I'm going to be thinking about how to move forward with, right? It's not all 0s and 5s in the conversation, and building a process so that it's okay to be a 2 and a 3 and make sure it's built in. Another interesting thing about bringing community members to the decision-making table is, I didn't talk a lot about the task force, but sort of as this visual suggests, they also meet every quarter and they have representatives from each group. So that's a body where there are community voices and agency staff sort of sitting together. The same way you all are reflecting how unique it is to have elected officials and non-elected officials, agency staff sitting around this table, we have a similar thing going on. And it has been very powerful to listen to public works staff talk directly to community leaders with their really different perspectives, their really different takes on the issues, and try to come to common decisions and common understanding on how to move forward in the project. And so I've touched on a lot of these lessons learned, but I highlighted them here in a list just so you all have them take away. So really what we've seen in bringing community voices to the decision-making table is that it's a lot of work. That work is expensive and time consuming. Like if you want to do this right, you really have to be all in. And SACOG's done a great job resourcing this project thanks to a federal grant. So we've been able to put in that time and that money to make this happen, but all those extra graphics and time really don't come easily. I've also learned that community members are just as locally focused as any of us. I think right until you spend a lot of time interacting with community members, you don't have a sense of what they'll value, but right, everything is local. Everyone is worried about their neighborhood and their community and making sure it works. And so you need all the voices together to get the regional picture. We talked about this on the fist of 5, but really making space for dissent early on pays off when the road gets bumpy. If you have a way to get to consensus, you're more effective there. And then that really important dialogue between community members and agency staff. Okay, switching us to the sort of like second thing, topic of mobility zones we want you all to dig in on, which is really the targeted public outreach we were able to use. So we leveraged community organizations to do more targeted public outreach. SACOG, right, as a 6-county organization, one of the challenges that we have is how do you get the word out to 6 counties worth of people? And then how do you make sure that the feedback you get from the community is spread well across the 6 counties? It's a very, very big challenge that we have on all of our projects. And so what we did in mobility zones is we partnered with 5 different nonprofits, as you can see here, and leveraged their local networks and their expertise to get the word out more effectively in the places that we were focused on getting the word out. Because another challenge we have at SACOG is like we put out an online survey and we get like, 1,000 answers from Curtis Park and Land Park. That doesn't tell us a very big story of the whole region. And so this has been really effective to get different voices to the table. So how it worked was that the project team, SACOG and our technical consultants, figured out the kind of what and how of what we wanted the engagement to be, where we developed the maps that the boards would use, that they'd take out to the farmers markets. We figured out what the questions would be, how we wanted the information to come back from the communities. We worked together on some flyers. So we did a lot of the materials that were needed for the outreach. But then we basically kind of handed it over to those community partners and said, you figure out the when and the where, right? You know these communities and places the best, and you understand better than us on how to make that engagement happen. These are some photos from the, more than 36 in-person engagement events that happened over 1 month on the Mobility Zones project, which simply wouldn't have been possible without the partnerships with these community-based organizations. The results really speak for themselves. Yeah, there we go, 37 events in 6 weeks. We captured feedback from linguistically isolated populations. We got feedback in 7 languages. I'm very, very proud of that. We engaged with 510 people in person. That's not survey numbers. That's like eye contact, face to face. Someone put a sticker on a map thinking about transportation issues in our region. 921 comments I've been processing in the last couple weeks. Like that is so much richer and more powerful information than SACOG is normally able to leverage on our projects. And 100% of those comments are from people who live, work, play, or pray, to use Chair Jennings' phrasing, in the communities that we're focused on, right? We didn't have folks in one county trying to assume what the experience was like in a different part of our region. We had the people who are dealing with it on a day-to-day basis giving that feedback, which has really, really been powerful. So, all to say the community organizations are exponentially better at turning folks out than the government is. And so whenever possible, making those partnerships and freeing it up to take their cues and use their knowledge is really very powerful. But I will say there's no substitute for SACOG staff presence to answer questions. One of the pieces of feedback we got from our community partners is like, hey, you gave us all these resources and these FAQs, but sometimes people are asking really hard transportation questions I didn't know. And so in our next phase of outreach that we're going to work on in the project, it's really trying to bring the two back together, right? So having SACOG staff out there with them so that if folks want to get in the weeds on how potholes get filled and all that stuff, SACOG staff are there. And then high quality outreach is really only useful if it's well documented. Another thing we're trying to level up on the next time around is the feedback form and documentation that the community organizations give back to SACOG. They have these really rich conversations, but if they summarize them at a very high level, then I don't get all the kind of rich data of the conversation they had. So we're working on how information gets transferred between us as like government and community organization partners. Okay. I've covered a lot. Looking ahead for the board, really we're moving towards the decision on which are the 10 places or zones that we want to focus on in mobility zones. So there'll be an information item at April board, Transportation Committee and board, and an action item at May Transportation Committee and board. Due to time constraints, right? I don't often get the time to delve this deep into the community outreach process and what's been so powerful about it. So I appreciate the opportunity today to get into it with you all. And I think just gratitude for you carrying that into the conversation as the board starts to work on which 10 places we should focus on. And then to sort of hand it back to Casey for the next conversation, mobility zones is one of the opportunities this body has to engage between this meeting and our next REI working group meeting. And so really for mobility zones, what that would look like is you all coming and participating in one of the public outreach events that we have for mobility zones, and then coming back and sharing your experience with this working group. And then just a little look ahead, we also have an October opportunity for you to come sit in on one of our community committees and listen to that dialogue, see the Fist of Five and all that in action. And with that, happy to take any questions.
And I'm Chair Jennings, if I may.
Yes.
I want to propose, given the time, to change up the agenda a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So what I want to propose is that after this conversation, we were going to have broad Q&A, and then we were going to have you do some speed dating. Like, get up, because you just ate lunch, right? Get up and walk around to 3 different stations where you're going to learn about 3 programs that are going to have some active needs for help thinking through how to ensure principles of meaningful community engagement are included in them, and how to ensure that we are considering equity within the program. And so what I would propose is that if you have a strong interest in like questions and interest in mobility zones, that Kathleen's going to be one of those stations, and you can go straight to her and like ask questions and like start to say, okay, how can I help? And then there'll be 2 other stations as well. And that way we can make sure everyone gets to ask questions and discuss, but also get the opportunities out there.
And those 2 other stations will be under the subject of?
Okay, so the other two stations, one is going to be the blueprint, that's SACOG's long-range transportation plan. Clint Holtzen is going to be standing at one of the boards here. A big opportunity with that coming up is going to be the development of the policies that really govern all of SACOG's work. The other opportunity is going to be the regional monitoring program that Garrett Ballard Rosa is running. And that is really, we're building that up. It's like our dashboard of regional indicators. It's accountability on SACOG's programs. It's also how is the region doing on a whole suite of different economic, demographic, transportation, land use indicators. So if you have a lot of interest in that, you can go talk to him too, because we're trying to design that for a bunch of work this year. And then the last one on there, since it's there, you are all going to be invited to a June 12th board site visit. There's something at your seat on that, but we can talk about that when we come back together.
Good.
So that's what I would propose.
I like your proposal.
Okay.
You guys like her proposal?
Yeah.
It gets you out of here closer to 1:30, which is what our commitment was, than the other proposal, which will get you out here closer to 2:00.
I'll take the 1:30.
Okay. Looking around at the number of people who have looked at their watch, I would assume the same thing is true for all of you, right? That's a good proposal.
Great. And so the one thing, so Lynette is going to be our timekeeper. She's going to give us kind of, we'll judge like about 5 minutes so you could rotate through. Because the point is, go and listen to the program, ask questions about it, decide if you want to be of service to that particular need. We don't need everybody to sign up, but we would like someone from the working group to sign up to help with each of these. Okay, so we don't want to overload you, but between all of you, if the work is spread, it's not as much work.
So then when we come back, you can tell us that you want to be a part of that working group.
Yes.
So we can record that and keep that and know who's doing that. Okay, and then our meeting is pretty much done.
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
Everybody good with that? Yes?
All right.
Okay, good. Welcome. All right, let's do it. Got it. Good.
Mobility's up.
I'll give this one to Clint. I'll make you walk.
I'm very
Oh, is that really good? Good.
cool.
Hey, listen to any blueprint stuff?
Yeah. You got tired of the blueprint yet? It's been like 4 years.
I know.
It's just like,
Policies though, we haven't started to touch on those, but.
yeah, because we didn't get to its transportation committee. I got punted this month. Or to April.
It's a never
each one of you to stop the incredible engagement that you have. And we're gonna wrap this thing up for you so that,
Thank you.
you can get back on with the rest of your day. The presenters did a great job, didn't they? Give them a round of applause. Yeah, good job. Thank you for doing that. So,
You want,
we're gonna do the report out from our meetings, our discussions. Who signed up for the blueprint? Blueprint. Anybody sign up for the blueprint?
wants to.
Yeah, the question is who wants to, 'cause we have-
Gary, you got it?
Yeah, that's, I'm doing.
Okay, so then if you haven't signed up, Gary wants to sign up for the blueprint. Who else? Anybody else?
I'll do it.
Okay, Jan, perfect.
And Ted.
I got you. I got you. Just gotta learn how to roll my R. Roll my R. We're gonna work on that together. You know. Okay, how about the regional monitoring program? Sam, I got Sam.
I like numbers, so I have no problem.
There we go. Perfect. Others? William, okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. Yes, you can. Absolutely.
That's great. I'm on the dashboard,
All right.
regional mobility.
Thank you. I'm getting ready to go regional monitoring program now.
Oh, that one too.
All right, I'm,
Mobility, you know.
regional monitoring.
I would like to send you for that.
Okay, I got Jan. I got Bruce. Okay, I got you. Anyone else? Which one? Monitoring.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so those two. I'm getting ready to do mobility zones now. So I know you want to do mobility zones. Kim Williams wants to do mobility zones. Rick Jennings wants to do mobility zones. Bruce wants to do mobility zones. Anyone else? Oh, okay, I got you. I got you. Raul, okay. You get everybody? The blueprint? Perfect, perfect.
Can I just go over those one last time really quickly?
All right.
I've got, for Blueprint, Director Bradford, Director Clark Kretz, Tere and Desiree. And then for Regional Monitoring, I have Sam, Director McCauley, William, and Director Howdeshelt. And then for Mobility Zones, I have Director Howdeshelt again, Director Clark Kretz, William, Chair Jennings, and Raul. Did I get that? Did I get you right, Director Howdeshelt? Okay, thank you.
And then, Kim Williams had to leave early. She raised her hand for mobility. zones.
Mobility.
So,
Mhm. Cool.
okay, can I just give everyone a quick thing, what happens next and let you sign up for something?
Please.
Okay, so after this meeting, each of the program managers will be reaching out to you to coordinate on if there's a meeting that's being scheduled or, when that particular time is. So if you don't totally remember what you signed up for, guess what? We'll come and we'll clarify that for you. And again, we recognize that you are volunteering your time to do this work. And so staff is very open to scaling to what your capacity is to work with us. So please don't feel that you have signed up for something that's going to consume you entirely, because that's not our goal. Okay.
And then we'll come back. Virtual in person.
That can absolutely be between you and the program manager. I imagine a lot of times virtual is going to be most 6 counties.
Okay, and then we'll come back together on June the 13th to share out what resulted from our efforts, what we learned, and then look for more help, what help is needed over the summer. So our next meeting will be on the 13th. And then our next meeting as a group is on the 13th, again, as I mentioned, at 1:30. And then September the 19th at 1:30
No,
and
sorry, 11:30.
11:30, I'm sorry.
That's my
Okay.
bad.
Both of those meetings are 11:30 to 1:30. And then November the 14th from 11:30 to 1:30. So once again, just for clarification, June 13th, September 19th, November 14th, all those 11:30 to 1:30. Okay? Yes.
Oh. I have
Yes.
something too.
Mhm.
I wanted to thank you for this book.
But I'm wondering if the community-based organizations might also like to read this. And I just wanted to see what you thought and what our group thought about ordering some more books for our community-based organizations.
We'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Others? Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Just one comment. I think I noticed maybe Blueprint was the least popular and so if there's an oversaturation of one group, mobility, like I'm happy to go to the Blueprint group as well. So
We'll put that down. I think we had 2 sign up for Blueprint.
No, we have 4 for Blueprint and then 5, 6. Right, 4 for monitoring, 4 for Blueprint, 6 for mobility zones. If you want more than one though, you can have more than one.
Did you want me to announce this, the REAP tour?
Yes.
Okay. So you may have this in front of you, this blue and white sheet of paper. It's the REAP 2025 REAP Tour Arden Arcade in Sacramento County. It'll take place on Thursday, the 12th of June, 8:15 a.m. to 9:15 at 2201 Cottage Way. You'll get a chance to explore it. Projects like Arden Way and Watt Avenue complete streets, learn more about the challenges and opportunities, and get a unique insight into the pocket of the Sacramento region, this pocket of the Sacramento region, and connect with SACOG board and REI working group members. So you need to register by June the 2nd if you want to participate in this, and or to RSVP, you can email Mia Lopez. So I think you each have this sheet at your table. And so you have all the information I just read. Anything else for this body? You guys have done great today. I really appreciate you. We went a little bit over, but it was an incredible meeting. I thought we did well on our first meeting. And guess what? It's gonna get even better when we meet the next time. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend.